Kelly is asking if your competitors are ranking very high for the top root search words, is it better to target the next highest that has less competition, or should we go after the same as our high ranking competitors? Yeah, so this is a question that we get like all the time. So let's go to like the master keyword list here. And let's just assume this is for a garlic press. So it's filtered by search volume here. So I guess the question is like, let's say that, competitors are ranked super well for garlic press, garlic mincer, and you're like, hey, maybe I don't focus on these keywords. Maybe I try to improve my rank instead of focusing on these. Maybe I try to like improve my rank for things that are further down the list, like this garlic baker or this garlic presses in a plural form. The reason that we wouldn't advise you to do that is because how you have to think about this is like Amazon, like how it's building this all together is it's trying to create clusters of what people are searching for. And so even though, okay, garlic press is super competitive, maybe I want to try to index myself for garlic peeler and garlic crusher. It doesn't really work like that, right? For you're going to have to increase your rank for all of these keywords, right? You're going to want to focus on these keywords that are at the top of the list. So while that might seem intuitive, like, oh, these are lower competition, or people are missing out on like garlic chopper, for example, and I can dominate garlic chopper, it's actually going to hurt you more in the overall to forget about these garlic press. Like you might go and be able to increase your rank for garlic chopper, but in the long game, you need to be ranked, right? This is why this is my favorite metric up here. I have it pinned to the top. You can click the little pin icon, but this is the percentage of keywords that they're ranked on page 1 for. How you win overall in the end and how you kind of solidify your spot is by getting this number really, really high. What Amazon wants to know is out of all of the different ways people are searching for this product, the 450 different ways people are searching for this product, this seller is ranked on page 1 for 95% of those keywords. That's the whole basis of why we, this dashboard up here at the top, this means that 80+% of the people are ranked on page 1 for this list of keywords, right? So if I was going to say I'm only going to be targeting like that bottom half or keywords that are outside of that top part, what's going to happen is you're just never going to index and your rank is going to be really low for all these other keywords, right? So I wouldn't recommend that. I would focus on your main root coverage. If those keywords are relevant to what you're trying to sell, like what could also happen there is if you don't include garlic press, is then Amazon might start to think that you're not actually a garlic press, and it might start to group you with other things related to the crusher root, right? Like, so instead of garlic press, you're focusing on only garlic crusher or garlic mincer. Now you might start to get, like almond crusher, right? And you're not an almond crusher, you're a garlic crusher, right? So I hope that helps. So, okay, Bryant is asking, good to have indexing coverage and not skip keywords if possible. Yeah, so Bryant just answered that question. Thanks, Bryant. Yeah, don't skip keywords. Bad move. It's only going to hurt you in the end. Don't run away from things because they're competitive. You're not going to be able to trick the algorithm in that sense. It's only going to end up hurting you in the end. That fully. Okay, Richard is saying, hi, I chose a product with only 10 keywords that show up. What do you suggest I place in the bullet points if all keywords are in the title? Should I just optimize bullets for conversion rather than for ranking juice? Let's see what Jeremy says. Yeah. So Jeremy gives a really good answer here. So if you're in a situation where you're not getting like at least a few hundred keywords in your MKL, there could be two issues of what happened here. First issue is that you selected a very random group of products. This is all garlic presses, right? So it's going to give me a large list of keywords that are relevant to garlic press. That's why I have so many keywords here, is because everything is a garlic press. But if I would start including like garlic presses with almond presses with other kitchen utensils, this list is going to be really, really small. And the reason that it's going to be really small is because we have a minimum here for relevancy, right? And so when something is below this minimum, it's not going to show up here in the master keyword list. It's going to show up in outlier keywords. So if you ever are pulling a dive and it's got like 10 keywords, make sure that you actually are selecting products that are relevant. If you've selected products that are relevant and you're still seeing a few number of keywords, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come over to the outlier keywords tab. These are keywords that have high search volume but low relevancy. And how we calculate relevancy is we're just saying, for this keyword here, garlic chopper, what percentage of the 15 plus competitors that I've included in this dive, which percentage of these people are using them, are ranked on page 1 for these keywords. So like this one where it's showing 20%, we've got like 3 or 4 people that are ranked on page 1. These ones at 7%, we probably only have 1 person here that is ranked on page 1, right? So even right now for outlier keywords, it's only showing me 8. That's because I have my minimum search volume settings to 2,000. If I drop this to like 500, I'm going to get a bunch more keywords here. So if you ever have a really small master keyword, well, I'm getting 23 outlier keywords. I can even drop this lower. I could drop it to like, you're going to see it's just going to scale up a bunch. Right? So now it's giving me like another 609 keywords. So again, there should never, I think very, very few scenarios where you're like, wow, there's only 10 keywords for my listing. I can fit them all in my title. I don't need anything in my bullets at all. I think that that's probably pretty unlikely. And it's either that you're in a very, very small niche and there are in fact only 10 keywords. I think that's unlikely. You've got a too wide of a range of products. And so the relevancy is naturally lower, or you just haven't looked inside the outlier keywords. So I hope that helps.
And this is kind of relative to using data dive, when you're doing a deep dive and let's say you have a product that has good search volume in 3 different types of keyword suggestions or searches. So like, let's say like a stainless steel tumbler, right? So people might search for that, but they might also search for like coffee cup with lid. In that example, to pull all the relevant keywords in data dive, do I need to just do like maybe a few dives with those top 3 keywords that are slightly different?
You shouldn't. So that's a question people always ask. They're like, what if I put in the wrong hero keyword and I start my dive? Do I need to like go and redo the dive and make sure I'm getting in all the competitors, right? If it's a very, very small product that is a really small niche, you might have to do that. But in large circumstances, like especially with something like a coffee tumbler, for example, if you put like what is going to show up for coffee tumbler if you get 15 plus of those competitors, and keep in mind now you can go, I think it's up to 30 in data dive. If you are getting the organically ranked 15 plus competitors for this, it's automatically going to pull in all those keywords. And we can kind of assume that this group of competitors, it's going to get you the correct list of keywords. Now you can always go and try, and you could say like, if the keywords are very different, so like coffee tumbler might be different from coffee cup with lid. Those are like actually different from a relevancy standpoint. You can go and try to do the dive again. I've done this on my end though, and if the niche is well established, it's like it doesn't really matter if I search for something by one hero keyword versus searching for something at a different hero keyword. If the products that I'm selecting are ultimately the same, I tend to get very, very close master keyword lists. Where it would differ is like if I'm trying to think of an example here on the desk, like, you know, it's like I have a battery. I'm not going to grab it, but I have like a battery pack here for charging. It's like a battery pack that you charge your phone with. But I'm also seeing like my laptop cable. And so even though that like both of these things could charge my laptop or a phone, they're very different things. Like one is a power bank and one is like a charging cable. And so there might be some overlap in those keywords, but like I'm as a human, I'm not going to be confused as to the difference between a power bank and a charging cable, right? Those are 2 very different things. So even though charging cable might show up in my MKL for things related to power bank, it wouldn't really matter if I typed in like charging cable and then I saw all of the battery packs that came up when I type in charging cable and I add those battery packs and I get 15 plus of them and I add them to my dive. I can expect that if I select power banks from that keyword for charging cable, it's going to be very similar that if I would have just typed in power banks and got the 15 that show up there. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. So basically, I don't need to really worry about it. I can try it if I want to, but ultimately, probably not worry about it.
If the niche is big enough, I'd say don't worry about it. But just so you can put yourself at ease, just try doing it, and you're going to find that if you're selecting the same product but you've arrived at it from a different search term, it's going to pull a very, very similar, if not almost identical, master keyword list.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, man.
Cool. Okay, so Nicole is asking, can you please explain how to identify routes? I'm getting confused on when to count something as a separate route or the same route. For example, coffee cup coffee cup 12 ounce disposable. Are these separate routes? Okay. So coffee cup 12 ounce, disposable coffee cup. Are these separate routes? Yes, these would be three separate routes, right? And so even though like all of them do include coffee cup, it's the extra descriptor on top of that. So it was the same thing with the toiletry bag example. We counted toiletry bag as a separate route from toiletry bag for women because this is it's that added adjective on there. So the coffee cup, maybe coffee cup is a little bit too general. Maybe I wouldn't count coffee cup as the root. I don't know enough about this product, but it sounds like it's a disposable coffee cup, right? Like maybe like a plastic coffee cup, right? Or a paper coffee cup. So the coffee cup 12 ounce, right, is going to be different. Disposable coffee cup showing that you can throw it away after, that's different. Coffee cup might be the only one. I don't know enough about this product, but coffee cup might be the only one that I wouldn't call a root because it's too general. Versus coffee cup 12 ounce, someone could type that in, they could see your product and they could be like, okay, this is relevant. Disposable coffee cup, they're going to type that in and they're going to see, okay, this is relevant. Versus coffee cup, that could be like, could it be a coffee mug? Maybe it's too general. So either 2 or 3 routes there. You can follow up in the chat if you have more questions. Right. Okay, Rob is asking, can you identify what affects brand score at the top of the compare matrix?
When you raise the draw, when you pull the slider up and you're looking at your analysis of all the competitive keywords, and it shows everything at the very top, it says brand.
Let's see. Am I missing something here? Here?
Yeah.
I think it's just your brand name.
Well, it has brand, but you notice how on mine, you see how Zule Kitchen, your very first one, has no color, and then to the right of it has a yellow, and to the right of that, it has nothing. On mine, with my competitors, I'm sure Data Dive is doing what on purpose, because my competitors, the best one in my niche, are all very strong pink. So I'm like, whoa, it's actually scoring the brands and showing you which brands are the most powerful.
Ooh, I don't know about that one either. I'm gonna have to follow up. So like because I know this is related specifically to the percentage of keywords, but like if this is different, this yellow different from this red.
Right. So what I found though, which can't be a coincidence, let's say like on Zule, you see where it's blank at the very first one. I see to the right of it, it's weak. Well, imagine if the one that's yellow, imagine if that was pink. That's the case on some other competitors, and sure enough, they are the most powerful. So I'm like, wow, what is giving that the score? What's telling it very strong for the brand?
Yeah. I know Moises is on this call. I don't know if he knows the answer to that. That is technical, but I am going to ask. Color coding.
Because I'm trying to figure out what is making certain brands so strong in cases where to us, like you would look at it the way I do, where you go, wait a minute, why is this brand so strong? Like, okay, we know what to look for. We know the obvious, but what is it that maybe we're missing that's making them stronger than us? Yeah. Was my one concept on that. And then with in the same matrix, that slide you were just looking at, how come there are 2 keywords in bullets that are marked very strong in one of the competitors, and yet if you go to their listing, those keywords are not there? So let's say if you see a very strong orange, like where your cursor is, you got 8 and 20 garlic press and garlic mincer. Let's say you were looking in the title analysis, bullet analysis, where you go to bullets, if you're working on your bullets. And if you see that there's 2 keywords that are, let's say, outlier and maybe one that's not an outlier, and they're marked very strong for an ASIN, and in your analysis of building your listing, that's why they have such a high score, because their bullets are getting such a strong score. But then the very things that are marked that they have a high score for, you go to find it, and those words aren't in their listings anywhere.
So what could have happened is, like, let's say that they're really ranked high for garlic mincer, and then I go and inspect their listing and garlic mincer isn't there at all. What could have happened is that garlic mincer could have previously been in there, and they've already increased their rank to the point that if they take garlic mincer out, then they're still going to maintain their rank. They could have it in the back end, but that's kind of the thought, right? It's like once you establish indexing for a keyword and Amazon says, okay, you are the 20th organic position for garlic mincer, and I've built up enough historical performance on this, that becomes the question, is like, could I actually revert to a shorter and shorter title and maintain those ranks? And what seems to be the case is that it actually will maintain those ranks. Like Amazon's not going to forget that you're a garlic mincer. So that's just something, I mean, yeah, I think that's the short answer, right? Okay, Doug is asking, okay, and I think this is the last of the Q&A. So last chance to ask questions and then we're going to wrap up. Doug is asking, do you have a strategy in mind on how to use dashes or commas in the title? Does separating terms affect ranking juice? So I love dashes. I like them a little bit better than commas. I think it's just more visual. I highly recommend doing this. If you're going to keyword stuff your title, at least stuff it with some dashes between the keyword roots so that the brain can kind of visually break it up. I don't think there's a difference between commas or dashes. I don't think it's going to take away a lot of, you've got 200 characters to work with. So even if I have like 10 dashes in there to break up 10 different phrases, it's not really sacrificing that much of what I need. What I would not do is put a dash or a comma in between garlic and press. Not that you would do that anyway, because the dash is going to be to break up different phrases. But definitely don't put a dash in between things that you want to get exact credit for. Hi, I have a question. If I have two keywords, one is shelf for boho nursery and the other is nursery decor. If I write shelf for boho nursery decor in my bullet, will both words index? Okay, good question here. So what we have to do is let's look at both of these. So we have shelf for boho nursery, and then we have nursery decor. So if you write shelf for boho nursery decor, are you going to index for both of those keywords? Shelf for boho nursery. I think you will. I think, yeah, right? Because it's going to have both of these. It's going to have nursery decor, and then it's going to have shelf for boho nursery. So I think it will actually pick up both of those and it will index. That's a clever way of getting, better root coverage with fewer number of characters versus if you were going to write, both of those things side by side, that's going to look a little bit keyword stuff. So that is a really good, that is a really good observation there. And that would be the correct way to get credit for both of those. Hi, is there a way in Data Dive to track the impact of changes in ranking of certain keywords, or do we have to do it manually? Okay, so Naz is asking about keyword tracking. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm not going to show you this yet, but this should make you excited, right? We've been teasing this for quite a while, probably well before we should have started teasing it, because then everyone gets very excited. Let me just open up a dive here. So you can let me know. I don't think you see this on your end yet, but you see this keywords rank tracker. We've been working on this for quite a while, and I can see this on my end. So even if you don't see it on your end, what this indicates to me is that you're going to be able to see it soon. Everyone's going to get it soon. So we're kind of just testing it and rolling it out. Right now, the best thing you can do to manually track your keyword rank is you're going to go into the niche tracker under the monitoring tab. And then, so you can see I did this dive on March 22nd. So if I click this button to dive again, I select all of my competitors and then I click begin. It's going to do a brand new dive. Remember, data dive, it all happens for that point in time when the dive was run. So all this is going to do is it's automatically going to start my dive. It's just going a little slow. And then this research here would be populated. Today's April 12th. And then so you'd see new research here. And so as you are going and getting more data, ideally, every time you're changing your title, you would start a new dive. You could go back and check your historical performance by clicking on the date. So you can see here, I'm going to click on the date. And then what I could do, it's a little manual, but I could go and I could say, okay, for Amazon dog caught, I was ranked in position 5. Now I go and make the change to my title. I go back, and then this new research is going to pop up here. And then I could go and see how my rank changes over time. So that is a very manual way of doing it now. I recommend doing that for the next however long until the keyword tracker is up. But in the next, I don't want to say the next few weeks because I'm not sure if it's going to be out for everyone in the next few weeks, but we will have the keyword tracker on Data Dive. And so you're not going to have to do this. It's not going to be such a manual process. All right, Angeline, is there a window or timeline in the phases of keyword stuffing? So she is asking about, like, when do these phases happen, right? When is it appropriate to start to take more liberties with your title, less liberties with your title? And is there a timeline for when this is going to happen? It really depends, right? It just depends how quickly you can get to phase 4. Someone asked the same question yesterday. If you have a really good product, you're converting very highly, you're having a high click-through rate, you're running a lot of PPC traffic, you might be able to start ranking for 80+% of the master keyword list. Depending on how competitive that niche is, that could happen within a few weeks, within a few months. Other niches, it might take months and months and months to get up to phase 3 or phase 4. The point is not to say that you can't start keyword stuffing here, or you can't start making a more readable title in phase 1 or phase 2. The point that I'm trying to drive home is that your primary purpose when you're indexing, when you're optimizing for ranking, is you want that juice, you want that ranking juice in your title. And as your listing becomes more mature, as your dominance in that niche increases, then you can take more liberties. So it's just kind of this balancing act that you do, right? I certainly wouldn't want to put out a title if I'm in phase 1 where 50% of my title are keywords that are not related to the products I'm trying to sell, because it's going to take me longer to achieve those ranks. And I have the risk of confusing Amazon's algorithm as to what I'm actually trying to sell. So the time frame really just depends on how quickly you can gravitate and you can move through those phases. Simon is asking, hi, Anthony, keyword tracker in Data Dive. Do you know when this feature will be available for users outside of Inner Circle? Let me know in the chat. Does anyone else see that keyword tracker in their Data Dive? You can go and check right now. I actually don't know the answer to this. I haven't even used it myself yet. But I don't know the time frame. I'm not going to say anything because I might be wrong. But I know, I'm not going to say anything else. Ask support. Okay, so also we have some extra feedback here. Tony from Finland. Welcome, Tony. He's saying to ask support to change the URL. So I'm going to also dive into that and see if there's maybe we can come up with a template that we can share with you guys. Ali saying, thanks, Tony. This is great. Thanks a lot. Okay, cool. I think that's all the questions we have. It looks like we have 2 more people with their hands raised. So we're going to take those right now. I've got 12 more minutes here to take questions. So you can drop extra questions into the chat. We'll take those. We're saying that we don't see the keyword tracker on your end yet. Yeah, just be patient. I don't know if anyone has access to it yet. I think it just might be because I have a dev account.
Actually, I have a question regarding backend system. Can you please explain how Amazon search algorithm uses backend system to rank product listing in search result? And is there a direct connection of backend system with organic ranking?
There is. So the question is about where in the priority list is going to be backend search terms from a ranking perspective. So there is going to be an impact on backend search terms, right? Just think of each of these different locations in the listing as levers that you can pull. What we're trying to share here is that backend search terms do matter. The first 150 characters are going to be indexed, but the weight is going to be less when compared to the bullets or the title. Description and A+ content, based on our understanding of the algorithm, is going to be the weakest. So yes, you can include keywords in your backend search term, and yes, it is going to help you get indexed and increase your organic rank. But the strongest signal that we can send is going to be having, for right now, is going to be having those keywords in our title in an exact form.
And how do we measure the effectiveness of backend system in driving traffic and sales for a product on Amazon?
Can you ask that one more time?
How do we measure the effectiveness of backend system in driving traffic and sales?
So what you would do is the same way that we were showing before, right? Is you would try adding something into your backend search terms, and then you would see, does my organic rank increase? What you're probably going to find, though, is that the effect of putting something new into your backend search terms is going to be minimal, right? Versus if you were to rewrite the root into your title in an exact form, you might see your rank shoots up very quickly within a few hours or a few days to see maximum effect, right? It's going to happen very fast. Versus you can just test this on your own. Right? If you have 2 listings, try adding something in your title and then try adding that same thing in an exact form in your backend search terms. And you're probably going to find that where you added the title is going to improve the rank faster. And that's kind of why I wanted to show this example that we showed earlier, where it was like, okay, you have these 2 listings, which one is going to get more credit? One has the keywords in exact form in the title, one has keywords in exact form in the bullets. And we're really trying to drive home the point that the competitor listing with the exact form in the title is going to get the highest ranking juice. It's going to see the biggest improvement for rank faster. So you can just test it, but backend search term is going to be less weight, less force than title. Okay, Naz, thank you for the answer. I have another question. I've seen a case or two where the revenue of a competitor ASIN shows 0 or very little, which can't be the case given the number of reviews and the competitor ranking. Wonder if this is a data scraping issue or there could be any other reason. Yeah, that sounds like very unlikely that a person's going to have no sales. I think sometimes if the listing is not active, it might pull the data incorrectly. But if you ever see something that you think is a data issue, there is a little button on the right-hand side. It's red. It says feedback, and you can screenshot what you like. Just go and send that into the team, and they'll let you know if it's a data issue or if there's something else going on, like a bug or a glitch. Okay, Rio, is there a point to repeat some keywords in title, bullet, backend? The answer there is no, right? You're not going to get any extra bonus from having the keyword over and over and over again in the title, right? You can only get 100% credit. You can't get more than 100% credit. So not really any benefit to repeating things. You want to try to distribute across as many routes and as many of those long tail keywords as we're getting into our bullet points as you can. Okay, Paul is asking, how often should we revisit the listing copy and optimize for conversion? Remember, all I'm doing right now, I'm not focusing on conversion with these titles yet. When I'm going to start focusing on conversion is when I get to be like that phase 3 or phase 4, right? If I'm ranked for, where was it? Right? If I'm in like phase 3 or phase 4, where I'm ranked for 80+% of the master keyword list, then basically what I'm telling you is that you've kind of dominated at that point, right? You're ranked for a lot of keywords. Ideally, you're single digit number ranking for all of these different keywords, right? You are just killing it. When I'm thinking about a title, I don't think about it for conversion, right? Everything else in the listing is for conversion. Your images, your A+ content, that's what's going to get people to convert. In the beginning, your title is a tool that is primarily used for SEO, right? So don't think of your title as conversion. Later down the road, when you're dominating this, you're dominating your MKL, then go back and you can go to a shorter title. You can try to make your title more readable. You can make it something that's a little more visually impressive. But in the beginning, you need to have the correct keywords, exact matches in your title to establish that ranking and that indexing for Amazon. Step 1. Once you've done that, and you're ranked for a lot of these keywords in the MKL because you have the correct route coverage, then you move on to making it more conversion focused. And so a question we got earlier today is like, how long does it take to get here, or when do these phases happen? It really just depends, right? If you launch a product and you really do a good job during your honeymoon period, you might be able to rank for 80% of the master keyword list within a few weeks, maybe a few months, maybe faster, depending on how aggressive you are in terms of ad spending. Depends on how good your conversion rate is. So some people, they've been selling for years, right? I see this all the time. They have a listing that's like 2 or 3 years old, and they're still only ranked for 40% of the master keyword list, right? It doesn't mean that they're doing a bad job. It doesn't mean that their product's not good. It doesn't mean that they don't have the potential to be ranked for 80+% of the MKL. All it means is that they didn't have the correct route coverage in their title, and they're probably missing out on that potential juice. And then in terms of like how often you should be doing these title changes, remember, you're going to add in this keyword, you're going to add in these keyword routes, one keyword at a time, and you're going to see change happen really fast, right? It should happen within a few hours, right? Maximum impact is going to happen within a few days. So this is something you're going to do on a regular basis. Not every category is going to be, some categories are a little bit more restrictive with changing your title. So not everyone can change their title a million times. Sometimes you got to get approval. Sometimes Amazon blocks it. Okay, we have another one here from Claire. I noticed that in one of the slides, it mentioned that backend search terms have higher ranking juice than product description. Did I understand that right? I think you did. Let me go back and make sure I didn't say something incorrect. It does happen. But if the slide says it, then I think it's right. Yeah, I think that is right. I think the weakest is description, A+ content. I think this priority is correct. Title strongest, bullets next strongest, backend search terms is going to be more than description, A+ content. One more here from JKB. Major difference between Data Dive and Helium 10. Data Dive is really just like you're taking Helium 10's, similar data to Helium 10, and you're just looking at it on steroids, right? So it's just a lot deeper of an analysis. And then the whole workflow for how Data Dive is fundamentally different, right? These all came from strategies that we taught inside of our coaching community, Seller Systems and Inner Circle. And so back in the day, what Data Dive does is we used to do this all manually in Excel, in Google Sheets, running macros. And so after teaching that for years, we created a version of Data Dive that was in Google Sheets, right? After a year or more of development, and we put out this web-based version, and now we're just adding more and more compatibility to make it better, right? So it's just totally different. It's not like we're competing with them or anything like that. It's just a different way of analyzing the data.